Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another Tuesday webinar. Hopefully you're all well. Just going to give it another couple of seconds to make sure that everyone is joining. This is not coronavirus. This is just the flu, I believe, or a cold, whatever you want to call it. We had a nice break away, but the whole family has been bunged up since we've come back. No temperatures or anything like that, but just bunged up, cough. So yeah, I'm feeling a little bit bleh today. Guys, let me know if you can hear me okay. Before we start. So we got Janine, we got Lorraine, we got Nancy, we got Richard. Good to see you all again, guys. Can you guys hear me? Just making sure you can before we jump in. Thank you, Nancy. Pretty nasally, actually, aren't I? I'm meant to be doing some videos today as well. Got the camera set up. We normally shoot with just this. It's a little bit strange. Normally when we were creating a lot of content, we had Isaac, who was our videographer. He's got, amazing equipment, and, high quality kind of videos. But since, COVID, it's just been me and this little boy, in this room that I've seemed to have been in for the last year, it seems like. But yeah, anyway, can't complain. But guys, I really wanted to make this session more about you than about us. And what I mean by that is a couple of things. Firstly, I wanted to use this session as a check-in. So just to kind of see how you are, I want to share a couple of things that I've realized over the last 2 weeks as well, which will hopefully bring you guys a little bit of value today as well. But I really wanted to kind of put the emphasis on you. And I think I've noticed recently, like I say, in the last couple of days, the importance of talking about maybe how we feel, even if we don't know how we feel, just getting it off our chest, expressing it. And at the same time, the importance of people checking in with you as well. So I'm just going to put it out there at the beginning. So we've got Anita that's joined now as well, Janine, Lorraine, Nancy, Richard. Guys, how have you been? I know we ask this every webinar, but I want to ask, how are you? How has your week been? Have you had any challenges? How is your mental health? How are you feeling? Which is a really good question to ask. Not just how are you feeling, or how are you feeling today is one that I always like to ask as well. Because obviously if we just say, how are you? We just blur everything together and we say, I'm fine. But if I say, how are you feeling today? I might say, I'm a little bit unmotivated, a little bit nasally, man flu-y, etc. So guys, let me know how you are. How have you been feeling? While you do that, because I appreciate that you are going to take a little while to type, and I just don't want to sit here in silence. I'm going to share something in a minute, like I said, that's caused us to want to do this webinar today, where we really want to ask you guys how you are feeling. But I've just been sent this post on Instagram off the back of a post that I put out, which I'll share with you in just a minute. And this is really what this webinar is about today. It's very informal, but it's just a check-in and me talking about why I think it's so important, why we talk about how we feel sometimes when we don't even know why, when we sometimes can't even define it ourselves. But this lady sent me this post here on Instagram, and it had the causes of burnout. Tomorrow we're doing a webinar at Wednesday, 1 p.m. If you want to find out a little bit more about that, what you can do is you can go to everymindatwork.com/live training. If you go to everymindatwork.com/live training, you should be able to sign up there. Tomorrow we're doing a webinar, which is the 5 ways to help your employees from burning out, along those kind of lines. And it's advising people to help them when it comes to helping others burn out. But I got sent this post today, and I thought it was a really, really good post, and I want to quickly share it with you. And if you want me to send you the actual photo of it, just drop me an email and I'll be able to do that as well. And while I'm doing this, guys, do let me know how you're doing. I know Anita's just put it in there, a couple of you. Let me know how you're feeling. Janine, I think Nancy's struggling with the connection. Maybe Richard, let me know how you've been. Causes of burnout. So these are 7 causes of burnout. Number 1, you work too much and do not have enough time for your personal life, relationships, or self-care. I've been hammering this, and I've been guilty of this myself. Working from home has caused me to work more, especially with the mission that we're on with Everymind at Work. We've gone from launching the business, a couple of months ago after 2 years of development, to now sort of partnering with, 70 plus businesses, and trying to help their employees with their mental health. You can almost kind of imagine the amount of work that I'm kind of putting in for that mission, right? But that too much work has led me to neglect myself, led me to neglect relationships, led me to neglect, my mental health. So causes of burnout: you work too much, you do not have enough time for your mental health. I like to put in there as well. Number two, you have unrealistic expectations of yourself. Another good one, right? We have too high expectations of ourselves, and that causes us to burn out. And again, we've spoken about that in a previous webinar. Number three, you are trying to be everything to everyone. That got me when I read that. I was like, wow, yeah, that's me, right? And I'm about to do a video on people pleasing, because you are trying to be everything to everyone. If any of you can relate to that, like, I'm sure some of you can, when we're trying to help everyone else, but we forget to help ourselves sometimes. Number four, you spend a lot of your time around negative or complacent people. Okay, so again, like the environment around us, and let's be honest, we can't control what's happening around us, but spending time around negative and complacent people is very high at the moment because of everything that's going on. We take the workplace as an example. People don't really know what's going on. There's a lot of redundancies. There's a lot of pressures being, happening. There's a lot of uncertainty, and that has led to a lot of negativity as well. And when we're surrounded by those people, it can obviously lead to a lot of burnout as well. Number five, you work with someone who undermines you or micromanages you. Number six, you struggle to set boundaries. And number seven, you are highly self-critical. So I do like that. If you guys want me to send you that, someone sent it to me, I think this morning. Thought it was really good. The 7 causes of burnout, and I'm sure maybe you can relate to some of them as well. So Anita says, had a big presentation yesterday, so it was absolutely nerve-wracking. Today, feel neutral. Okay. Anita, post guy again. He always comes when I'm doing a webinar. Hopefully the presentation went well. I'm sure in a lot of cases you was maybe those scenarios coming on in your mind, right? Of like, oh, this could go wrong, that could go wrong, that person's thinking this. I know from my own experiences of delivering presentations that those thoughts always happen. But hopefully it went well. I'm sure it did, Anita, and I'm glad today you feel a little bit better after it. Richard says, very mixed, trying to support team members who are dealing with a traumatic situation, supporting the wife's anxiety with the kids, going back to school, finally trying to find time for myself, trying to help too many folk. I hear you. As I was reading that, I was like, Richard, I bet you could have related to that point, right? And sometimes with that, like, we're being dragged from here to there, to here to there. You're supporting your team members, you're then trying to help your wife, you're then obviously trying to help your kids, you're then trying to help yourself. And you're forever being pulled. And again, when we're people pleasers as well, and we do put everyone else first, there's only so long that we can contain that. There's only so much of that we can do ourselves, right? And if I'm honest, one thing that I'm going to talk about in this video, which I really want to touch on, is the guilt that comes with you not being able to help those people, and almost understanding that sometimes it's their journey, and we can help them as much as possible, but it's their journey, and sometimes we don't give credit where credit is due, and they're stronger, and we feel like we need to support them more than maybe we do as well. And I think that guilt is what consumes us the most, right, Richard? I don't know if you can relate to that, but I know when I'm supporting my team members, I might be feeling guilty that I'm not supporting my wife with her anxiety, right? When I'm trying to help the kids going back to school, I'm feeling guilty that I'm not spending time for myself, and guilt consumes us. And sometimes instead of addressing like the balance, it's more about addressing those emotions of guilt, those feelings of guilt. That's something that I'm massively working on myself as well. Nancy can definitely relate to trying to be everything to everyone concept. Difficult week, feels like a little walking through quicksand at times. Yeah. I like that as well, walking through quicksand. Janine, hi Paul, I'm fair to middling, thank you. How are you? It sounds like you may have a cold. Yeah, exactly. Hope you're not allergic to the puppy. Regards what you've just read out, all of the above. Yeah, no, it's good point. No, we were unwell before the pup. So we got a puppy on last Thursday. He's a handful, but no, he's a really, really good dog. Guilt is spot on. Yeah, 100%. Right. So guys, I really, really appreciate that. And one thing that I wanted to share in this webinar, and feel free to chime in at any time, is Again, my personal experience, right? And when I talk about my personal experience, I'm going to come at it from a very different angle in this webinar, because all of you have been on these webinars before, and I'm hoping that this will help you, right? Again, like, I want you to share, and if you want to share more, please do. But I really hope that this helps you, because this is something that I posted yesterday, and I was very mindful of posting it, and the emotions that come after it and the feedback that came after it. There was a lot of learnings that I had from it. And it was a post that I put on, I put it on LinkedIn, I put it on Instagram, etc. And I just want to read it to you, and then I want to elaborate on it a little bit more. And you might be able to relate to this. I feel fed up, I lack energy, I feel uninspired, I feel bored. But I now realize all of those feelings are okay. After a solid 60 plus hours working on building Everymind, last week I went on holiday with the family. It was a break I desperately needed, but since returning, I found it hard to get into the swing of things. But even though I'm struggling, I've learned over the past few years in particular that those feelings are normal. I've learned that these feelings also bring new teachings. As someone who's been pretty addicted to self-development since losing my dad to suicide in 2009, and I do that because I'm scared that I too will end up like where he did. I've always been one to fight against negative emotions. I've always been one who overjudges myself when I'm not 100%. But 100 plus self-help books, thousands of hours of podcasts and audiobooks, thousands of money spent on mentoring and coaching still doesn't make me immune to feeling crap sometimes, right? However you're feeling right now, it's okay. Those feelings are normal. With these feelings come new teachings. We've got this. And I wanted to just elaborate that on that a little bit more, because I went away for a week with the family, and I couldn't do this Tuesday webinar. I had someone who was going to do this Tuesday webinar, and they pulled out, and it had to be cancelled, right? The Wednesday webinar that we all did had someone ready to do that. We had some technical issues that had to be cancelled. And little things like that, I don't really worry about as much consciously, but I think subconsciously I do. I'm like, I'm letting these people down, right? And then I'm aware of the family, trying to be present with the family. But my mind, if I'm honest, an entrepreneur mind never switches off, and my mind is always on. But I did have, 90% of that holiday just family time, 10% work, I would say. Then when I came home, I got the puppy, right? Thursday, which didn't help. But Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday yesterday was just like, I just not inspired. I'm not motivated. It's sometimes hard to explain, but I'm sure you can relate to this. You don't know why. You can't put your finger on why, but you're like, I just can't be bothered. Like, I'm not feeling myself. I'm not 100%. I don't know why. Is it the fact that I feel a little bit ill? And you just can't put your finger on why. And I think the biggest problem that we all have with mental health is we're always trying to put our finger on why, right? And almost if you compare that to physical health, like if I start showing signs of, let's say, I don't know, a physical illness. So let's say I start showing signs of like a really bad chesty cough, right? I'm looking at the symptoms of the chesty cough. I then might go to the doctors and say, I've had this chesty cough for like 4 weeks, don't really know what it is. They might do some like internal scans, find out what it is. And they're trying to find the root cause of why I've got that chesty cough. With mental health, we're always trying to put the finger on, why am I feeling this way, right? And we're almost saying to ourselves, I've got this chesty cough. And imagine you saying, the reason why I've got this chesty cough is because this is going on, this is going on, this is going on, this is going on, this is going on. And that's why. And then you just kind of like try and self-manage it yourself. With mental health, we're always doing that, always trying to put our finger on it. And sometimes what I've realized is those emotions are okay. And it might take me tomorrow to realize why I was feeling that way. It might take me a year. It might take me 10 years. It might take me a month. But it's all part of learning. It's all part of the journey. It's all part of the process. And we are still very conditioned that there's a quick fix, right? There's this snap. Oh, I should be feeling better now. Why am I not feeling better now? And the one thing that I really wanted to emphasize on that post is, and this relates back to the workplace, if you're a business leader, if you are a HR professional, if you are someone who has team members, if you're a husband, a wife, a mum, a dad, if you're a sister, a brother, a son, whatever you are, a daughter, it still doesn't mean that you're immune to feeling like struggling sometimes, right? And what I wanted to show with that post, and I actually had one negative reaction to it, like, this isn't good for your personal brand, even though my personal brand is all about vulnerability and talking about my own personal story. But he was like, because it's LinkedIn, it's not good for your personal brand because it's not professional. And that's my point exactly, right? When we drop our guard sometimes, when we're being vulnerable, when we are transparent, and when we're saying, hey, I'm not feeling very good. I don't know why I'm not feeling very good, but I want to be open about that. We still have this association with that's me not performing at my highest, right? And my natural reaction, my natural DNA, as I said, when I lost my dad to suicide in 2009, like that was it. My biggest fear from that day, and always is and always will be, is I will end up like my dad, because I'm honest about that, because I was compared to him. I'm sensitive like him. I deal with my emotions the same way as he does. I'm obsessed with stuff like my dad was, and all of that. And I see that as a very good trait. My dad was an amazing guy, but at the same time, that put me on this path, right? To just make sure that I was addicted to getting better, and I was addicted to self-help. I had to be high performing. I had to know everything. I had to always be on it. There wasn't, and even now, there's not a time I wouldn't listen to music sometimes, podcasts, audiobooks, listen, learn. I always want to improve. And like, what I was trying to say in that post as well was, when we get in that state, we almost judge ourselves when we are not 100%. Like, I thought I was past this. I thought I dealt with this. I thought I know how to deal with this. I know all of the logic behind why I should be feeling okay and how to get out of feeling this way, but I still can't. I'm still in this rubbish place, right? And with that comes a lot of judgment. Why are you like this? And what I really want to get across, and this is a bit of a rant, I apologize, guys. But what I really wanted to get across is every feeling is okay. Like that feeling today, I woke up and it had passed way more than it had the day before. And I think the reason why it passed was because I got it out there. I got some feedback. It wasn't just more about the feedback. It was more about, I just got it out there. I got it off my chest. I've now announced it. I've now told people how I'm feeling, and I've been vulnerable. Okay, now what's the next step? The next step is get up in the morning. I wanted to go to the gym this morning, go to the gym, focus on me for a little bit. Do a bit of reading. I started to read about people pleasing, which is something, again, that I'm focusing on at the moment. And slowly take those steps to get out of it. And it isn't about, those emotions are okay, right? And I hope you realize that as well, that however you're feeling right now, this week, next month, next year, all of those feelings are okay. And sometimes the more we push against them, and sometimes the more we tell ourselves that we need to get out of this, it can almost have an adverse effect as well, right? And that doesn't mean that we are disempowering ourselves by accepting it. What I believe is acceptance is empowering ourselves, because I'm accepting that. Okay, that's fine. That's okay. Like I can deal with that. I feel like that's more empowering than, I don't want to be like this. I need to get better. I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this. Because when that then continues to happen throughout the rest of your life, you're always going to be, punching against walls. So I think acceptance is empowering, sorry. And it's not obviously something that disempowers us in any way. Guys, can you relate to any of that? I appreciate this rant. Please send me an invoice after this, and I will pay you for a 20-minute counseling session, whatever your rates are, right? Janine says, you are human. I appreciate that. Yeah, exactly. We've just put an interview out with a guy called Steve Norton from Think Money. And the video title is a podcast interview of me and him. I think it was putting the human back in HR. And he made a really good point about we've forgotten about the human element of human resources. And like you said, if you're a top performer, if you're a CEO, if you're someone who's extremely successful, if you're someone who is really, really struggling at the moment, the one thing that we all have in common is we're all human, and we all have emotions, and we all have feelings. And the silence around it still baffles me, because, as you say, we are all, it's one in one. We all have mental health. We all have emotions. We should be able to deal with it. Anita says, I'm trying to find teachings in feelings. I think you sharing how you feel in your post is what makes it more authentic, that you are human and we can relate to you better. Appreciate that, Anita. Yeah, and again, Everymind at Work, the app is very much focused on personal experience. We have Dr. Lauren Callahan, who's amazing. She sits on our board. I've got a very good relationship with her. She's helped me. She's also helped Adam, one of our key investors of Everymind, in the past. And Lauren obviously is a clinical psychologist, and all of the content in there is signed off by Lauren, and everything that we try to do is focused around what Lauren believes that we should be doing. But also Lauren also knows the real importance of personal experience. It's okay me standing up here today and saying, hey guys, I'm going to give you 5 clinical reasons why you might be struggling today. But I feel like not everyone, but I know personally that we do learn better from personal experience sometimes, especially when it comes to mental health and emotions. I know personally for me and my own understanding and education around mental health and mental illnesses, let's take OCD as the example. I've been very open about my miseducation around OCD. I've said stuff in the past which is completely wrong, right? And I'm open and honest about that because that was my education and my conditioning around the illness of OCD. I've made jokes about it. I've said, oh, this person's got OCD because of this reason. Now, me understanding and being educated on OCD has purely come from meeting people with the illness, right? Meeting Adam, who talks about his own experiences with OCD and the intrusive thoughts and the suicidal feelings that come alongside that. And, me understanding OCD and mental illnesses and, other things as well, really, I believe it's driven by personal experience. So as you say, Anita, I think we need to push that more than try to hide it, because the more we encourage people to share their stories, I believe the more we can chip away the stigma, right? So I want to ask you guys a question. Please put it in the chat box. The question that I have, and this might be a bit of a challenging question, but it's a question that I'm going to answer as well. And I always find that when I ask this question to my guests on the podcast, they always struggle to answer it, right? So I apologize. But I'm going to ask you the question. If you could go back to, I think a really pivotal age is 13 years old, right? If you can go back to the 13-year-old you, what advice would you give? Now, the reason why I'm asking this question, and I want you to put it in the chat box, is I believe, as I've just said, and as Anita said as well, it's about finding teachings in feelings. It's about finding lessons in adversity, right? What happened with my dad, like I don't talk about it for pity. I talk about it to show that through adversity can come strength, right? I talk about it to show that if you are going through something similar, or you've just lost someone in a similar way, or you're struggling, it doesn't mean that this is going to be forever, and I'm very open that it took me 7 years to even talk about it publicly, 8 years to talk about it publicly. So I think when we're looking back to our 13-year-old selves, we probably, I don't know how old you guys are, right? Some of you might be 16. We've probably gone through a lot of learnings, a lot of adversity, a lot of ups and downs, and we've learned a lot. So if we could go back to that 13-year-old and we could give them one piece of advice, what would it be? So, guys, put it in the chat box. I need to think about what my one is. Put it in the chat box and I'll read them out, because I think this could be valuable for everyone on here and everyone who watches the replay as well. 13-year-old me was very egotistical, very insecure, but didn't come across as insecure, wore that mask. Okay, I'll tell you what. This is my one, guys. And then, yeah, please put it in. The advice that I would give to my 13-year-old self would be to not try to please everyone. And it sounds so simple, but the reason why I've said that is because I'm still struggling with that, however many years later. And it's getting better. But what I've realized with people pleasing is it's conditioning. And there's no like light bulb moment that all of a sudden I just don't want to please anyone. I'm still looking for that approval. I'm still looking to not upset anyone. I'm still looking to help other people. I'm still putting myself second sometimes, even though I talk about always putting myself first. It's just natural. I'm still feeling guilty when I'm, at the gym working on myself because I'm not with my wife, my kids, and helping there. I still feel guilty when I'm with my wife, my kids, because I'm not working on my mission to really encourage people to talk about their mental health, and vice versa. So I think people pleasing is a challenge that takes ages to recondition. and I am getting better at it. 100%. I'm a lot better now than I was when I was 13, right? Everything I did when I was 13 was about seeking approval and maybe being, that person that cracks jokes because I want everyone to say, oh yeah, Paul's funny, because inside I was pretty insecure and, wearing that mask. So I think the biggest advice that I'd give to the 13-year-old me was that, learn as quickly as you possibly can to stop being a people pleaser, because it takes a bloody long time to be able to. Anita says, I would say it's okay to let go and be yourself. You don't need to be liked by everyone. Stop trying so hard. I love that. And that is, again, that's similar, Anita. I relate to that, because being ourselves is sometimes so difficult because we have a variety of different masks that we wear for different situations, right? And what does it mean to be 100% authentic? Like, I wear a mask sometimes when I'm with friends because I just don't really want to talk about some stuff. But there's times where I know I can take that mask off and I can talk to a couple of them. So what does it mean to be 100% authentic and not really worrying what anyone thinks of you, right? I really like that. Richard, life is not all about academic achievement. Follow your own path and explore your emotions. Amazing. Guys, if anyone got any more, because I want to put this out maybe on LinkedIn. I won't name you if you don't want me to name you, but I like these. These are good. Life is not all about academic achievement. Again, I think that's hammered at us from a very young age. We have to be academic. We have to reach levels of success. We have to do X. We have to do Z. And I think, as you said, Richard, we start to realize that academic intelligence is important, but emotional intelligence is far more important. And that's just my own 2 cents. But, I think there's a big emphasis in the curriculum for, achieving grades, achieving a letter on a piece of paper in comparison to this person is amazing with people, right? This person is compassionate. This person has been able to deal with and manage adversity throughout his whole school years at a very young age, right? And rewarding people for the emotional intelligence side of it rather than the academic intelligence side of it. And it's interesting to see you say there, Richard, that comes from pleasing parents. Richard, you don't have to disclose. Was your parents very forceful of you getting the grades, getting the academic achievement, almost putting that on a pedestal? Yeah, 100%. And in a way, like, again, that's just their conditioning, right? Because when they were growing up, if you got a good grade at school, it meant you had a more successful life. I'm guessing. My dad was more forceful than my mum was, to go to university. I never went to university, but, my dad was very more get a solid 9 to 5 and work up the corporate ladder, where my mum was like, as long as you're happy, you're happy. And that makes me happy. So, and I see it all the time. I do a lot of talks in schools. I do a lot of content on TikTok, believe it or not, where a lot of the comments, a lot of the messages, a lot of the people coming up to me at the end of the school talks are very much based around their stress of getting the grades that their parents expect of them, and getting these academic achievements that is being forced upon them as well, and how they really struggle to deal with that. And as you said, and as we continue to say with people pleasing, it's the same as that, Richard, right? It's that conditioning. And trying to break that conditioning, in my opinion, takes a long time, because it's been something that we're conditioned to do for such a long time as well. So I like that one as well. Janine, I would say you will always be enough. Oh, that hit me. That hit me. You will always be enough. I like that. Nice. Yeah, I like that a lot. I really do. You'll always be enough. I don't know why that choke that made me like, I don't know. I think because it's that the affirmation, right? The people pleasing element that I'm trying to tackle at the moment, a lot of it comes from affirmation. Have you guys ever done love languages? So there's something called the 5 love languages. Search it. You can do a little test for it. It's good to do with your partner. You can do it with your kids as well. And really what the 5 love languages is all about, and this was really, really helpful for me, was we all experience love in very different ways, right? And take me and my wife for an example. When we did this test about like 5 years ago, I was working with a mentor, and he said, look, go and do this love languages test, see what it comes back as. And you answer these series of questions and they seem a bit like, why am I answering this? But at the end of it, they give you your 5 love languages and they rate them as what's the most important love language to you. And my wife, on the other hand, her love language at the time, we do it probably, I don't know, once every year, maybe I'd say. Her love language when we first did it was quality time and acts of service. So those two, quality time and acts of service. Mine were words of affirmation and I think physical touch. So the 5 love languages, if I'm correct, is acts of service, quality time, physical touch, words of affirmation, and receiving gifts, I think it is. And the problem that people have is my love language is words of affirmation. Now, I don't know where that comes from. I think that comes from, I've always wanted validation. I've always wanted, when I was growing up, to be told that I was good. Like I was really good at football. I was this, I was that. And I was always looking for that external validation. I think a lot of that was because, my mum and dad were naturally very insecure. They were people pleasers as well. And I think I just obviously, inherited that as well, developed that trait from them where, didn't have a huge amount of self-esteem. And I look for that words of affirmation. So when my wife tells me that I'm the greatest husband ever, like that makes me feel good. I'm like, oh wow, yeah, I feel loved. But if my wife, and this is going to sound terrible, acts of service isn't a very high love language for me. So when my wife would make me dinner, personally for me, I don't see that as her expressing love, right? But her, on the other hand, if I go and make my wife lunch right now, her love language, acts of service, is very high. So for her, she knows that's me showing her love and she feels loved by me doing that. If I go and say to her, look, like last night I did the ironing, right? Don't worry about the ironing. You've done loads today with the kids. You've done this. I'll do the ironing. And I know that me doing the ironing, her sitting there watching telly, and even though she doesn't say it, she's like, oh, thank you. And she then starts giving me words of affirmation, right? So I would highly recommend that you do your 5 love languages, because it's important to find out how you like to be, how you like to experience love. And the reason why I think, Janine, your comment threw me, you will always be enough, because I'm like, that's something that I've always looked for that external validation for, right? And telling myself that and actually believing that is definitely a journey that I'm on as well. Cool, guys, this has been fun for me. I don't know if it's been fun for you, but I've learned so much from it. Hopefully you've learned a little bit as well. Guys, it's always really kind of encouraging to hear your openness on these webinars. Really, really do appreciate it. Anyway, appreciate you all so much for joining. I'm going to go get myself a lemsip and have some food. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your week. And I'm just an email away if you need anything. All right, guys, speak soon. Bye.